Looks like we have 12 people and it's 9:02. So welcome everybody to this week's meeting.
Hello, Dawn.
Glad to see new faces and old faces that have trouble getting on sometimes, and and old faces that have problems with microphones like myself, who you can actually hear me talk. We don't always love technology, but we love each other, so I'm glad you're all here and that we're all connected. John, do we have a Rotary Minute today?
Yes, sort of. I'd like to open for discussion one of the areas of focus that I've always had some difficulty in connecting with or understanding, and that is peace and conflict resolution. The overall purpose or focus of Rotary is for world peace, and we do this through things that we do. I remember a publisher of an online newspaper here and also a Rotary club president in St. Thomas, that with a number of folks set up a peace conference, and they brought in speakers, and they had a lot of folks all over from St. Thomas and other areas to come together and talk about peace. And I wondered what good it did. I'm not sure I recognized any of that. And then I kind of wonder, okay, well, what's Rotary's focus on this? And Rotary says that the conflict and violence displace millions of people each year. Half of those killed in conflict are children, and 90% are civilians. So Rotary refuses to accept conflict as a way of life. Rotary projects provide training that fosters understanding and provides communities with the skills to resolve conflicts. Rotary tells me that this is how they help make it happen. It's through our service contract projects, peace fellowships, and scholarships, the members taking action to address the underlying causes of conflict, including, and this is where we get in there, poverty, inequality, ethnic tension, lack of access to education, and the unequal distribution of resources. Rotary makes amazing things happen. Improving the quality of life. Rotary members founded the People for People Foundation, which has helped 10,000 families afford food, clothing, rent, utilities, medications, and other necessities. Rotaract clubs in the Philippines conduct anti-bullying campaigns in schools to teach children how to handle conflict peacefully from an early age. And the U.S. state of Louisiana has the 4th highest incidence of death caused by domestic violence. Local Rotary members met this issue by helping a shelter provide food, clothing, legal advocacy, and counseling to over 500 women in 1 year. There are 100 peace fellowships offered each year at the Rotary Peace Centers around the world. 65 million people are currently displaced by armed conflict or persecution. Rotary has raised over $142 million to support peace, and 1,000+ students have graduated from Rotary's Peace Centers programs. So that's what they do, and I want to know, how do we think that we contribute to peace and conflict resolution? To me, it's the hardest focus area for me to grapple with. So Amaryllis, please help me.
Well,
Wait a minute.
I can tell you that our butterfly storybook, it's a major instrument of peace. Because just the fact that you have the early on kids considering their life and themselves as how they can do good in the world and be nice to other people, and also noticing how other people are good for them, it's fostering a special kind of feeling and good and feeling good as and feeling good with others as a way of life. And when you can foster that from when children are little, it's fantastic. That's one thing. And the other thing with our project in this respect is that whereas all the countries and islands have individual peace efforts, there is no single concerted peace effort across our island nations within 70-20. And this is one of the very few exercises that we do together across with children that can be an instrument of fostering peace and conflict mindset.
Thank you. Anyone else care to tack in, or just let's all think peaceful thoughts at least? Dawn, back to you. No, you're muted.
You're muted, Dawn.
Okay, this week we had held open for a brief review of the board meeting to keep everybody up to date. I believe Henriette had a brief what? Okay, can you hear me now, or have I just lost all you guys? All right, pardon the technical difficulties. This week we were going to have a brief presentation by Henriette on the Sargasse March, I guess it was. And then a review of sort of what board talked about, and then open questions to make sure that we close the loop with all the members and everybody gets a chance to bring up what they'd like the club to deal with. I know there were a couple of things people wanted to propose. I think Amaryllis had something to propose for membership month that's quick and something we can do now. So without further ado, Henriette, we'd ask you to present. Can you give us an update on the march you went to? And
Can you what? I didn't hear what you just said at the end. Can you what?
Can you tell us about this March contra la Sargasse that you went to?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I don't know how long I have. I didn't time myself. When you're tired to hear me, just let me know, because I discovered a lot of things. I thought that I knew what I wanted to say, but as I researched the topic to do a presentation, I discovered so many things that I would like to give you two sets of photos first. One is a photo of some of the islands of the Caribbean which are plagued with the Sargasse. And then I will show you what happens to the critters, let's say, with the, which are confronted to Sargasse. And then I'll talk a little bit about what it is and where it started and why we are in that position now. So share screen, photos, here we are. Okay, that's one. Okay, so the first picture, do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay. This is a picture of Curacao. I mean, it's in Curacao that you see all those sargassum. You know, they are seaweeds. I'll come back to that later. The next one here, it's the British Virgin Islands.
Woohoo.
Okay.
That's a blanket.
Next. This is Dominica. Now, the next one is Jamaica. As you can see, it's quite something. This one is in Colombia. Sorry. Now you can see the guy who's standing there, and we just see his waist, you know, and all the rest is already in the sargasso. That gives you an idea of how deep the layers are. The next one is Cayman Islands. So you see people are standing there and they don't dare to go into the water, but you can understand why. The next one is Guadeloupe. There. That's the rocks, and you can see the sea all at the distance, and all of this is sargasso.
Oh.
Sargasso weeds. Okay. And the next one is Martinique.
You might point out, Henriette, that none of these photographs are authorized by the departments of tourism.
No, I haven't asked them permission. Very good point. It will be one of the points to discuss later. I just wanted to show you the extent of the problem. And then I have one more, which is Barbados. See. And I think that's it for the islands. Oh, so this is an island, we don't know which one, but the text, the website that I hooked on to get all those pictures and more information says that this is an island where people are rather poor and have no other distraction than going to the beach on weekends. And so, sargassum or not, here they are, and their kids are playing in the middle of those seaweeds. Okay, so maybe I should have started explaining what sargassum are before giving you such a show. I can show you now the other set of pictures, and then after that I will stop sharing screen and explain, you know. This is what happens to the fish.
You've got to. Okay, good.
What happened to the living or was living part of the sea, the ocean. This is a turtle, as you can both tell, but it's a dead one. This is a baby turtle. It's a different one, but you see it is completely smothered by the sargasso, the seaweeds that you see over there. These are fish, dead fish. So it's not only tourism, not only, you know. This is another picture of the fish. The disaster. And then I have one that anybody who has been to Cayman Island will feel for. You know, this is a stingray. It's really, and the worst is coming. Look at this one, a turtle. And these are not grapes. They're the berries of the sargassum. And she is mothered. Okay. So now the fish, and that's it. So I think that you've had enough of my screen. You have an idea of how important the subject matter is by seeing these pictures. And I would like to proceed then in explaining some of the things. So I will give you references if you're interested in the websites that where I found my information and the pictures particularly. But there is an expert on sargassum, which is Brian Lapointe, from the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute at Florida Atlantic University. And he has been studying sargassum, studying the seaweeds in the 1980s. So he's a specialist, and he says that the mounds of sargassum on beaches posed a serious solid waste problem for the tourism industry, and was described, of course, in a New York Times article, where is the beach and under the seaweeds. Not only the excessive sargassum stranding causes problems for tourism, they also impact biodiversity, biogeochemical cycling, and fisheries habitats, potentially forming dead zones, hypoxic or anoxic conditions in coastal ecosystems such as mangroves. So I think that practically almost all of the islands of the Caribbean have a mangrove somewhere. I mean, we do have one in Guadeloupe. I'm sure you must have some. And we try to protect it. So far we were protecting it against the human predators who were trying to build roads on the mangrove and to make it, disappear so that you can start more businesses, etc. But now it's the seaweeds which are killing the mangrove. Now, let me get to the seaweeds themselves. They have existed forever. There is a sea of which is called the Sargassum Sea. And it is a bizarre sea because it's in the middle of the ocean. And it's not far from the Bermudas. And it is an immense load where sargassum used to stay there together. And it's like a floating island where it was very good for baby turtles to rest as they were getting stronger. It was a habitat for all sorts of fish and little crabs, etc. And it was circumscribed, I dare say, by currents which were around it and were circling. And so it was staying there. Sometimes you would have a little piece which would go somewhere else, but most of the time it would stay there. It started since 2001. The invasion has been growing each year since that time. And the experts agree on these points. The seaweeds invasions are not natural. The seaweeds are natural, but the seaweed invasions are not natural. Just before I go into the details, a little reference to literature. You know that Jean Rees wrote a book about the seaweeds, the sargassum seas. I mean, it was in the sargassum island. It was translated in French. Don't remember exactly the title in English, but I know that it's Jean Rees RHYS. And it's a theme which has been used in literature, also in French literature, but when it was still poetic. Now it's a disaster. So just to put. Now, the seaweed invasion are not natural. It's a direct consequence of river pollution and climate changes. This invasion has been growing since 2011. And so trapped in bays and beaches, sargassum consume all the oxygen and suffocate thousands of fish and other underwater lives before dying themselves. Third point, the dead sargassum decompose with a rotten egg smell. The specific odor of hydrogen sulfide H2S, in French, sulfure d'hydrogène, if you want to know it, a very toxic, which can be lethal, and very flammable gas in high concentrations. The accumulation of sargassum on the beaches, fourth point, can prevent sea turtles to access or leave the nesting zone. So they die. Fifth point, poor baby turtles have trouble crossing the sargassum wall. Trapped and vulnerable to natural predators, many die in the mats of algae that normally at sea serve as their refuge. Some experts say that you should not touch the sargassum because they're shelter for sea turtle and fish, but if the turtles are no longer able to reach the shore, the nesting zone, and to come back, it doesn't really make sense to keep the sargassum for them. So, sixth point, the invasion of sargassum is now the new normality. Everybody takes it as normal. And last point, removing the sargassum on the beach with tractors and heavy machinery destroys sea turtle nests and is eroding the beaches. And the conclusion was the beach is the only distraction of often very poor inhabitants of the islands. And families spend all their weekends leaving their children to play on stack of seaweeds, which are sometimes 2 meters, 80 inches high. So, conclusion, the experts are unanimous. The only solution is to prevent the sargassum from arriving onto beaches. And so how do you do that? There are 2 ways. Mr. Brian Lapointe, has invented and designed a boat which is called the Sarga boat, and which goes and traps the sargass in the sea and take them away. And there is another thing that has been proposed, which is to put nets before the sargassum come, because you can see them, as they approach an island, you see this wall deep in the water coming. And so if you put fish nets before and you control them, then you keep them from coming to the beach eventually, at least sometime. I don't know, because now that I have seen the disaster that it is, probably they will break through the fish net after a certain point. But at least to try to do something about it. And so I had another picture of the sargassum, which I didn't put on my, I can show you like this. Sorry. Can you see that?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
It's an interesting topic. We might want to continue on a Wednesday, possibly. I know we've got a couple other things to do this week. Now, you went to like a gathering or a march or something. Can you give us like 5 minutes on that? And we have a longer
Sorry?
discussion. You went to a march or something? You originally got interested in this and asked to present because you were at a march or a
Oh no, I went to a march, a protest march, to ask the people, I mean the people in place to do something, because everybody is doing their own thing. I mean, our politicians go to Paris and they spend their time there. They don't care about the people on the island who are going to. Everybody says, "Oh, tourism," and then tourists are not coming anymore. I mean, you know, this is a destruction of. So what I was thinking, I mean, what motivated me is when I saw this problem, and I met the clubs in Guadeloupe from District 7030, which have, of course, they have the same problem. You have the same problem, and I was struck by seeing Barry there, and it reminded me that all Rotary and all one. And I thought that maybe if we could make, I mean, it's just a suggestion, if we're interested in doing something about it, maybe we could pair with other, I mean, first we could work within the district 7020, of course, you know, try to help smaller islands to get together and to get rid of this. Because what I wanted to show you also is that it is a valuable thing if you collect it, because it can be used. We have a professor here, professor of chemistry at the University of the Antilles in Guadeloupe. And she has found a way of using the sargasse to create charcoal, you know, after processing it. And
Harriet, can I add something?
Yes.
Can I add something, Harriet?
yes.
Can I add something? I know in St. Martin, I don't know the details, but they had gathered a group of people that were collecting the seaweed.
Who is it?
And it was on the Bonita.
Bonita, okay.
Yes, good morning. And it was on the French side, and I think it's also a French company. They send it somewhere overseas, and they use it to fertilize. So it is of good use if you know what to do with it. But I don't know the details. It was just a little article in the newspaper.
Jacqueline.
Oh, yeah. There are many usage of them. This is one of the usage, because instead of importing charcoal to filter the waters, you can produce it on the island with this disaster, let's say. But I didn't, you wanted it to be brief. I think I have been brief already, I think.
Yes, and in Bonaire also, and in Bonaire, I know also that the Dutch, they also are collecting. So yeah,
Jackie's been
they are
get in here. Jackie, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that I know it's a major problem on St. Croix. I don't know about throughout the Virgin Islands. John, I don't know if you, St. John, is experiencing anything like that. But I remember a couple of years ago, all of the hotels had were confronted with this seaweed issue. I didn't see a lot of it when I was home, but there were some areas, and it wasn't just the fact that it's the toxic fumes that come from this. So it's a major issue throughout the Caribbean, and I think Henriette indicated the areas within 7020 that's actually affected by this. I don't think there's something that we can do, but I don't think in the Virgin Islands that there's any collaborative effort in terms of removing it. I know the hotels themselves work on the seaweed removed from their beaches so that the tourists can utilize it. but I don't think there's the effort amongst a unified effort, on how to deal with it. So again, I do know that it's an issue throughout the Caribbean.
Well, I think as Henriette clearly showed it, that it is a serious problem, and there are no real solutions. I could
Well,
just, in conclusion, Henriette, in conclusion, we're screwed.
yeah, I'm going to conclude, and then because you have other things to do today, I'm sorry. But what I wanted to say and to provoke, a reaction, is that every island has the problem, and everyone is trying to solve it and to ignore it and say, well, we'll deal with it some other time. But if you see the immensity of it altogether, we have to get together and do something. And this is my idea, but my suggestion, because I don't know if it's a good idea, would be that if we can develop a plan, either with 702, within 702 from one island to the other one, or between 702 and 7030, in which case we are already international and we can ask for grants if we do partnership. We could involve the Rotary at a higher level to make things happen. And because a Rotary makes things happen, and if they do get interested in this problem, I'm sure the Rotary will solve it. That's why I brought it up. And thank you very much, Bonita. I was very interested in what you said, because you're in St. Martin, which is part of Guadeloupe. I mean, part of the
French West Indies.
French West Indies. But even if you are in the Netherlands part.
Yeah.
Okay, Henriette, thank you. Dawn, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Henriette. I know it sounded like that something would, something concrete would be coming out of this Sargassum Challenge thing that you had gone to. I'm a little disappointed to hear that it was mostly a lot of blah, blah and not much concrete. But that's one thing we can keep an eye on and ask around with our 720 friends and see what's going on. I suspect that it's going to have to be truly international, because the source of the problem is basically in international waters. So that's going to take a bit, but it's a good thing to keep an eye on, and I think it's going to impact the whole 70-20, 70-30, as you say. I wanted to keep things moving along, so thank you very much, Henriette. If you find more information, or if you just think it would be interesting to chat more, Kitty's always looking for the midweek happy hour videos and discussions, and that might be a good place if you can get on that. And I encourage everybody to show up on at least some of the Wednesdays, 7 o'clock.
Atlantic.
A lot of videos and chit chat, and it's just a good place to hang out in a little bit less structured environment and to see each other more than once a week. Next, I wanted to touch on, and now of course I've lost that, what we did for board. Lou, well, the first thing we decided on board was, yes, Terry and Jason are going to be joining our club. The official process is rolling along. We have their letters of good standing and all. It looks like next week, September 1st, is the best week for induction. We've already had them present on themselves, so it's not going to be a super long induction ceremony, but we'll want to have that next week unless anyone sees a particular problem with that. I believe, Terry, you're available then. I know Jason has said he wasn't available this week, but is available then. That does work for you?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we'll plan on that. I'll make sure to prioritize getting the script and all set together so we can be nice and organized, and that'll be how we kick off next week. And then we also have a speaker. The other major topic we went over at board. Lou, do you have the notes up?
I have the minutes. I can just touch on one of the action items is that we were going to work on committees, and so we have different committees set up, and we're going to ask individuals if they would head them.
All
Is that
right.
what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot now. I've got it back pulled up on my computer as well.
I did. I got the minutes for all the board members. If you're satisfied with the way they came out, I sent them to you last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever. Yeah.
And I have heard no objections.
Okay, so I'll send them out to everybody else. I just sent them to you, Dawn, to see if there was anything you wanted to add.
I think the only thing to add was foundation and fundraising. I am still the person in charge, but if someone else wants to take that over, of someone who attends regularly and is good to go with it, I would certainly like some help.
Some help with what exactly?
The way boards normally or ideally work in Rotary, and we decided we wanted to get into this, is that there's different committees in the club where each member is on at least one committee. It can be the membership committee, which Camille is trying to organize for us. It can be the foundation and fundraising committee. It can be meeting speakers and programs under part of administration, which Diana has graciously offered to take charge of and organize because it really helps to have a point person. But then we still have to have people contacting potential speakers, putting together meeting agendas, and just all that administrative stuff that has to get done timely every week in order for everyone to know what's going on and to keep the club organized. And then we in our club, we have the Butterfly Storybook Committee, which Paul is running. So the idea is that there's a chairperson, but the chairperson recruits members, not just board members, according to their interests, to get together. They meet outside of regular meeting on the Zoom platform, or if we want, we can have occasionally just set up the regular meeting is going to be a committee meeting, and we break into the various Zoom meeting rooms and get the work done at our regularly scheduled time, if that works better for people. But that the membership is all involved in the work of the club in an organized way, with people getting involved in the nuts and bolts and making sure that all the work gets done when it needs to get done, and it doesn't just fall on 2 or 3 people. And a committee structure is a good way to organize that. So definitely, in order to meet members' requests that, hello?
Yes.
Okay. Somehow I can't see Zoom, but I can see Bonita's little window. Okay, it must have somehow went to minimum. So that's
we hear you.
So the various committee chairs are going to be putting out, here's what the committee is working on, and here's who I need to help me still. And we'd like every member to be on at least one committee as a way of staying active in the club and doing more than just meeting on Saturdays. And that will also involve more of the people in our club who have difficulty making our regular meeting time on Saturday for one reason or another. We want to make sure we include them. A lot of that can be handled by email. Some of it can be done just on Zoom. The Zoom room is open. We don't have a data limit. So whenever a committee feels they needs to meet, you've got the link, fix a time, have your meeting. And basically we just want to get ourselves organized.
And after the meeting, be sure to report back to, or at least have your chair report back to the board.
Yes, so that we can all keep current on what's going on. Paul, I don't see Paul this week. I know his committee is one that really needs to hit the ground running. So again, I'll pass the message for him. If anybody is interested in any aspect of the Butterfly Storybook, There's always work to be done there. It is the key project we do, and as Diana pointed out in board meeting, there are some ways, if we spread the word and if we market it a bit, including to other Rotary clubs or just to kindergarten teachers we know or parallel teachers we know, this could be our main fundraiser where you don't have to go beg from people, which I know a lot of our members hate. You present this as a club project that is of benefit. You know, if you've got relatives who want their kids to read, this is a really good kind of book for them to read, to learn about other cultures and other kids, and it's interesting stuff for kids. So encouraging family, you know, consider this as a stocking stuff for Christmas gift or something. We have back issues. You can always get the back issues.
Sell more books. That's it. Sell more books.
Yeah. And don't just think of it as a fundraiser. Think of it as a, how does this, you know, like John opened us with, this is a way of encouraging peace by getting kids to think about kids in other countries and what their lives are like. If you're into social justice, this is where we give the kids in the Caribbean, including many who are less privileged, a chance to speak and to describe their own lives instead of being stereotyped or anything by other people. There's a lot of ways you can spin this. The thing is, we got to go out there and say what it's good for and encourage people to pick up a copy or two. It's only $10. Instead of just thinking, oh, it's a fundraiser, we have to stay within the confines of Rotary. We've got more going, as Diana has pointed out, we've got much more going than we realize with this project, and it can solve several of our problems while really coming into its own as our own, you know, it's part of the peace axis, axis of service. So before I start talking in circles, and then the other various committee for fundraising to think about how we can do that for either with the Butterfly Storybook or with other projects. I could certainly use some help in that, or somebody who wants to take that over and really run with it. I know we've had a couple people do it in the past. Diana's going to need some help with pulling together well out in advance what our schedule is going to be, finding speakers and getting them scheduled and all that sort of stuff. Training, planning for training. I don't think we put in the minutes who was in charge of that. Diana, that's still you, right? You know, what would we like for training topics? We will put them in the schedule, and we will make sure between Amaryllis and Diana and whoever else, Jason, whoever's more appropriate, that topics you want to learn about get on the schedule and that we do them.
Did everyone get the email from our public image? Yeah, name escaped me right now, which says check into learn.rotary.org.
Yes, I sent it to everyone as well.
Diana,
I would encourage that.
as well, and RI sent it, and district is planning discover the center with our Rotary.org chair, and probably someone from RI, maybe Marnie, to do a district-wide into it. So, but it's really cool, so go check it out.
I already completed one course. Now, granted, it was the short one, but you know, I've got a badge. I got a badge.
Yeah, and it counts for hours, for the hours that we put into Rotary. So.
Okay.
And this counts toward our club annual accomplishments for district and presidential citations and things like that. So
one of the topics was, well, actually it's a package of topics, but it's the fundamentals of secretary, the fundamentals of president. You know, it wouldn't hurt you to read those, to go through that course, to get, even if you don't want to be a secretary, to keep an understanding of how Rotary works, what's involved. I think just my brief visit there for an hour or so the other day, it's an excellent tool to be used. We should all explore it a little.
Okay, good. So expect to see some emails from committee chairs showing up in your inbox before long, and they can explain more clearly what they're doing and what they need help with, and what their thoughts are for the year. We don't have to wait till the month for that particular topic to come up. We can get started now and get organized. It's 9:48. As part of membership month, I know Amaryllis suggested kind of a cool activity that was suggested her by Harish. Let's turn that over to Amaryllis, and she can, or did Diana, did you need something before Amaryllis starts? Okay. Amaryllis, take it away.
Before Amaryllis starts. That's funny. Good morning, everyone. And this is something Harish is doing with a few friends, and I thought it would be cool for us to do as well. And it does entail to buy something, but let's see what happens. It's about stepping together. So what it entails is a pedometer, so that you are calculating your steps, and it's like a steps challenge or just taking steps together. So people that want to get a little bit fitter or just increase activity. It also goes in line with my health side of my life. And so the goal is to step in 10,000, to click in 10,000 steps a day. And some watches can do this, or you can get a Fitbit if you are fancier, but just a pedometer that costs like $15 will actually do pretty cool. And then what you do is what they're doing is just, first of all, you are keeping a fitness activity together, even though we are spread all over the place. And it goes into our membership wellness, and then we can just have a challenge of who puts more steps or anything like that. But I just thought it was so cool that the way Harish takes things, it just makes it so fun, because I see him walking up and down, and I say, well, this guy just clicking 50 more steps than me, so I have to go and walk my 50 steps so I can be on top of him. So there's people that clock in like steps while he's sleeping, and he wakes up and he walks around the house 100 steps just so he can stay in front of it. And what it just builds bond, and just generally a fun thing to do together, because we really don't have a lot of ways of doing fun stuff together, that unless we are at a conference or something like that. So there we go. So John says that Jackie said she's already on 7,000 steps. All right, so if not all of us have to be in it, but if a few of you want to get onto that, I would love to create a group for stepping in together. So that was my thing. Maybe we can also put the steps that we have taken together every so often and have fun with that. Go ahead, John, over to you.
Sure, I got my Fitbit I'm using just for personal health, so I can join in fairly easy. And
Roger 15,000 by the end of the day. 15,000. Roger.
I can sometimes do 10, and if I'm working at the county writing barn, maybe I'll do 14, depends, but.
No, and if Jackie can do 7,300 already this morning, 15,000 should be simple, Jackie.
If I can say something.
You don't know what 7,300 entails or what it took from me, okay? I'm going to rest for the rest of the day.
Right.
I have another challenge for you, Amaryllis. Wait. I have another challenge in the same spirit. Who can do the least steps in a week.
No, that doesn't count. But if we decide that we want to go on it, it would be cool. And it also counts for our membership activities for Club of the Month, something that goes into wellness and bonding and stuff like that. Yes, Diana?
Well, if we wanted to, we could make a big deal of this, because if we report it in every week when we at our meeting, if we report in, we can finish up at the end of the year with a grand total of however many million steps coming from one club, which would be, you know, I think it would be an interesting thing to post and to get other people. Yeah,
I think it would be awesome. And for an eClub where we are all together, you know, to come up with something that we can report that we are doing physically together, I think it's pretty awesome. So, I mean, you can imagine Harish was telling me this and my eyes were just glowing. And he says, like, your eyes are gleaming. I say, you know why? I love this idea. So I can find a way to post the steps every week in a way, a little chart that we can check it out and see who's doing what and who is it that you want to beat every week.
Okay, I want to beat Dennis, I think. Dennis, you have a word.
Yeah, does this count? Does just normal steps every day count? I mean, if you count them up?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's distracted stepping, so don't walk into walls, folks.
And no socks.
And no socks, definitely not any socks. Well, that's a given anyway with me. I just don't wear them.
Right. Okay. Well, my phone does track what little I do, and it keeps track of it. What it doesn't keep track of is that most of my steps are either up or down stairs. And then anyone that's been to St. John knows that it ain't flat.
Well, it doesn't matter as long as we keep track of our stepping together. So
no problem. All right, Dawn.
Okay, we have about 5 minutes left. Does anyone else have any general topics they would like to chip in? News?
Yeah, Amaryllis.
Yeah, well, it's that time about thinking of things that we could do. And in the past, we have sponsored the new members breakfast of the district conference. We didn't during the cruise conference. There wasn't one scheduled, and Haiti didn't schedule one as well. But there is space for one this year. We're trying to create a sense of the new members, sort of a class of new members, which is why we're doing the new members meet and greet, but there would be a space for a club to sponsor it, and I would like to just take a heartbeat on if we would like to do that again. It's a space, it's the time that we used last time to do a raffle and, you know, sell out more books, and it will give us a space in the program. So just your general thoughts so we can discuss in the board meeting next time.
What's the cost?
We have to sell it, we have to promote it, and people will buy breakfast at the cost that the hotel will allow us to sell it. And then we have to put a really awesome program for that.
I like it.
I don't really understand it, Amaryllis.
I don't know, maybe Diana, can you re-say it? So, because you've been there in the other ones with me, but you know, we have done it with members there and members online, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
People, can you believe it that Robert Hall was still talking about it on Jacksonville last August? So it was a great experience. Diana.
Yeah, so it is just an event. There will, you know, as you know, there are lunches and during meetings, but if there is a slot, we can have a breakfast event. So we will use one of the rooms that are used for gathering in the conference, and we simply host it almost as though it is one of our meetings. But we give a special welcome to the new members. There's usually the district governor would want to talk to the new members, and we can also bring in via Zoom, if we want to, international guests, or indeed our own members who are unable to be at the district conference. So it's as simple as that, Bonita. It's not more complicated.
Yes.
For us
Okay.
to have a
Thank
physical
you.
meeting on a conference, the once a year physical meeting.
Yeah. No, I think it's those of us who've been to various district conferences are very familiar with this, and I think it's an excellent opportunity to present ourselves to the new Rotarians and anyone else who is interested. And it does give us a presence at the conference. I think that's important.
And our butterflies.
Yes. All right. We're at the end. Roger.
I support the project.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick one. I mean, John, you came out with very deep Rotary thought this morning that I think probably took all of us a bit by surprise, and very good, but need a little thinking. But I will just share with you an example where Rotary does create peace and conflict resolution that both Diane and I have seen. And that was when we were in Uganda on one occasion, and we were at a Jaipur Lim workshop. And one of the things that the recipients and their families and people in the village noticed about Rotary in an area where there was some tribal tension was that Rotary didn't differentiate. If you had a need, Rotary dealt with it. It demonstrated a layer of philanthropy that took no account of tribal differences or differentiation, and force those people to actually see themselves as other people. And Rotary did that. It was kind of like an added benefit to what was actually being done. And we wouldn't have observed that unless it was brought to our attention. So it obviously had an impact because the people freely admitted that's what was happening.
Thank you, Roger. I was hoping somebody would think. I guess it's time for the four-way test.
For the four-way test? Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Is there anyone who'd like to volunteer to lead?
Well, I'm still unmuted, so I'll do it if you like, Don.
Okay.
So the things that as Rotarians we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build
goodwill and better friendships?
And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial
to all concerned?
And it will be fun.
It will be fun.
And here's to Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.
Rotary around the world.